What if I told you there's a single question type on the LSAT that shows up 8 to 12 times per test? A question type that is so valuable that mastering it could add 5 to 10 points to your score alone. Points that could translate into six-figure scholarships or a seat at a top-tier law school, possibly both. If it sounds too good to be true, it's not. Today, we're diving into necessary assumption questions, the cornerstone of logical reasoning success. Today, I'll reveal the exact framework to dominate them, the gap bridge technique. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand these questions, but you'll know how to master them. First, for those who don't know me, my name is Steve Schwartz. I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005, and I personally increased my own LSAT score from a 152 to a 175. Now, the thing is, the LSAT isn't just a test. It's a six-figure decision. Every single question you get right inches you closer to top scores, prestigious schools, and scholarships that can change your life. Today, I'm giving you the tools to conquer the question type that delivers the most outsized returns. Before we jump into the strategy, let's define the target necessary assumption questions. These ask you to identify the one thing an argument depends on to make sense. If the assumption isn't true, the argument falls apart. It's like removing a keystone from an arch. But here's the catch. These assumptions are sneaky. They're not always obvious and they're rarely bold. Instead, they're often subtle truths hiding beneath the surface of the argument, and spotting them requires precision. Most students overthink these questions or confuse them. They confuse necessary with sufficient or assume the right answer has to feel profound. But that's a mistake. Necessary assumptions aren't about impressing you. They're about holding the argument together. You want to think of them as the invisible glue. Now let's talk about the single most powerful tool for tackling necessary assumption questions, the negation test. Negation flips a statement on its head to test its importance. If negating the assumption destroys the argument, you've found the correct answer. Imagine in arguments like a house. Negation is the wrecking ball. If the house collapses, you know that beam, the assumption, was the one holding everything together. The reason this works is that the negation test ensures you're identifying what the argument must rely on, not just what it must benefit from. Now here's how the gap bridge technique applies as your strategy to master necessary assumption questions. Step 1 is to spot the gap. Start by looking for the jump between the premise and the conclusion. Most LSAT arguments make an assumption about how the premise leads to the conclusion. That assumption is your target. Step 2 is to scan for assumptions. You want to look for the answer choice that addresses the gap. The right assumption will link the premise and conclusion logically, like a bridge. Now, step 3 is negate to validate. Apply the negation test. Take the answer choice and negate it. If the argument collapses, you've found your answer. Now, let's address some common traps students fall into with necessary assumption questions. Trap number 1, extreme language. Necessary assumptions are rarely extreme. Words like always, never, and only are big red flags. The correct answer will typically be more moderate and reasonable. Trap number 2 is confusing necessary assumptions with sufficient assumptions. Sufficient assumptions are a totally different question type where your answer guarantees the conclusion. Don't expect the right answer to solve every single potential problem with the argument. Trap number 3 is overthinking things. Sometimes the correct answer feels obvious, and that's okay. If the argument depends on it, it's the right choice, no matter how simple it seems. At LSAT Unplugged, we frequently see students achieve incredible transformations just from mastering necessary assumption questions alone. We offer live online classes via Zoom, on-demand video courses, small group coaching, and one-on-one coaching. And one benefit of a personalized approach to LSAT prep, like what we offer, is that you can focus primarily or even exclusively on common question types like necessary assumption if you'd like. You don't need to waste time on the rare types that hardly ever come up. We can personalize your entire day-by-day LSAT study plan just for you on your journey to scoring a 170 plus. If you'd like my help, you could check out the link below to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out. Now, the thing to remember is that this isn't just about acing the LSAT. It's about changing your future. Necessary assumption questions train you to think critically, which is an essential skill for law school and beyond. And of course, the financial rewards that you get with a top LSAT score can completely change your career trajectory. So here's the game plan. Step 1, learn to spot the gap in the argument. Step 2, master the negation test. And step 3, practice the gap bridge technique. If you found this helpful, feel free to reach out. And in the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.